Welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked, where passion meets possibility. Here's your host, Meredith Calloway.
Hello, and welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked podcast. I am your host, Meredith Calloway, and on today's episode, my guest is Christina Vieira of Showcase the World Travel. Welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I am super excited, and the reason why is because I have been, a coach, mentor in the travel space for 15 years, and I have done thousands of presentations, talked on stages, even now written a book on the semantics and the how-to of how to build a thriving business as a travel entrepreneur. And it's just so awesome when I have an example of what to do. And you are that example.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored to hear you say that.
100%. Absolutely. So Christina is the owner and founder of Showcase the World Travel. Tell us a little bit about your journey of getting into travel entrepreneurship and how you started your business and how you decided to focus in family travel.
Yeah. So I started in the Disney space as and I hate the term side hustle, but that's what it was for me. I was working in marketing at a tech company and just kept getting added roles. I started marketing events, then I was put into sales operations. So now I was in charge of teaching people how to sell, and I had never sold anything in my life. And then I was put in charge of the sales team, travel. And so because I was doing all of their travel arrangements, I was handling the President's Club, they would come to me asking me for help with their personal travel because whenever I could take a vacation, I was on one. And that kind of turned into my husband looking at me. He wasn't my husband at the time, my now husband, looking at me going, there's gotta be a way you could get paid to do this. So I started doing research and I really loved Disney. So I started looking at Disney focused agencies. The first one who called me back gave me a contract, and I was like, great, this is what I'm going to do. And in 3 to 5 years, maybe I will do this full time when I'm ready to start a family. And the corporate job I had that kept adding responsibilities, didn't think I had enough, and I wasn't worth paying anymore. So I got laid off. I was very fortunate to go public with my company, but when you go public with a company, there's a lot of turnover and a lot of change in a short period of time. So was devastated at the time, but very fortunate that happened because I wouldn't have gone as quickly as I did. I probably would not have started my own business as early as I did. And something that's so important to me that was frustrating me in the Disney space was my love of Disney. My first time going to Epcot as a kid made me fall in love with the world. I'd gone to Disneyland. My aunt lived in LA. So it wasn't until I was like 9 or 10 that I went to Disney World for the first time. And I had to see those places. I just had to see them.
Yeah.
And then planning Disney trips for my clients year over year, I was starting to think like, well, where else? Where else do you want to go? Do you want to go see that place in real life? And the agency I was with just really wasn't supported, didn't have the support system to do that. They also didn't necessarily have the same core values that I did. Innovation is super important to me. Personal development is super important to me. Collaboration. And so I was like, well, if I'm laid off, what do I want to do now? All right. I'm going to kind of figure out what I would like my business to look like and start preparing for that. And it's been so important to me to really inspire those families to go beyond the beach and the theme park and to see more and really instill cultural curiosity in their children.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I love what you said about going to Epcot made you fall in love with the world.
Yeah.
And really, probably was the jumpstart, the trigger to a love affair with traveling around the world. because you got a little taste,
Yep.
of Japan, of Mexico,
Yeah.
of China, of Canada,
Norway
France.
and Norway and Morocco have always been the 2 that I've been
Okay. I
drawn to.
love it.
I haven't been to either yet, so I have to get there.
I just checked. Well, I've been to Norway before, but we were just there this summer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about, let's just dive into the marketing side of things. In my book that is about to be published, I keep saying this, but I promise you people, it is going to be published very, very soon. It's out of my hands. It's just a matter of time. But anyway, in the book, I think the chapter that will ultimately get read the most is the far from average action plan, implementing the far from average action plan chapter, which I believe is chapter 6, but don't quote me on that. And for me, the far from average action plan it identifies the 3 biggest blind spots travel advisors have and why so many fall into that accidental hobbyist or side hustle bucket, and which I fell into myself, in the first 5 years of me trying to do this, I fell into that. So I can talk to it, from experience. And the 3 blind spots are not knowing how to monetize the business first and foremost, which really essentially is in simplest terms is how to grow your revenues faster than your expenses.
Yeah.
How to find a way to grow your revenues faster than your expenses. The second blind spot is not understanding how to market the business or build a book of business. And the third blind spot is not knowing how to manage the business. My little story that I allude to or visual that I allude to is the Lucy and Ethel scene from I Love Lucy, where they're working in the chocolate factory for the day and they're standing next to each other. And when it first starts, the chocolate's coming out on the conveyor belt and all they have to do is wrap it and put it back on. And they're doing a great job. They're so proud of themselves. They're high-fiving each other. We got this. We're such good workers. And then the conveyor belt starts to speed up and they get a little frantic and it speeds up even more. And more than frantic, they're piling the chocolates in their hat, in their pockets, in their mouth. And I think I love that scene from an entrepreneurial point of view, because when business starts to actually grow, that's what it can feel like, right? Especially as a travel advisor. And it's so easy to drop a ball as a travel advisor. So that it's incredibly stressful to think about that happening to you.
Yeah.
And so you have to come up with the systems and the procedures and the delegation and the outsourcing to manage it all. But going back to the second one, so the far from average action plan is monetize it, market it, manage it. It's the 3 things, and it's the how of doing that. And I feel like you're such a textbook example of the market it piece in terms of how to build a sales funnel, effective sales funnel, not just a sales funnel, but an effective sales funnel. I think marketing is your genius, and I think you really get it. Like, that's one of the things that was so fun for me in coaching you, is that you're so coachable. You just like suck it up, the information. Then you go out and you find more and you embellish it, right? Like you take what I am teaching and then you do it even better. So not to, have a whole bunch of people visiting your website for the wrong reason. But if you want to look at Christina's website, showcasetheworld.com, have a look, because she's got the messaging down. She's got the target market down. You're absolutely clear. You're absolutely clear on all of the benefits and the outcome of what happens when people use your service. I also think you're a genius at the manage it piece too, which we can get to in a second, but let's just talk about the marketing side. I love that you've got the downloadable guides, the travel guides, and you don't just have one. Like, people, when we teach people about making IFOs, irresistible free offers, they think so hard and they work so hard and they finally get one thing print out and then they stick to that. You've got 3, and my guess is you're changing them up all the
Yeah,
time.
that was my project yesterday. Wednesdays are my CEO day. So yesterday I was working on going through all of my funnels and seeing where I can improve and where I want to retire some and create new ones. And I try to do that once a year
Yeah.
to make sure that I'm still refreshing them. But I made that mistake too when I started. I started with a 24-page WDW guide. I didn't even call it Walt Disney World guide. WDW guide. It was 24 pages. It had worksheets and I realized my ideal client's a busy mom. They
Right.
don't have time to look at a 24-page workbook.
Mhm. Yeah.
They don't want to, and also they have no idea what WDW is. Right? That's a great guide and a great product for someone who wants to DIY their trip,
Mhm.
but it wasn't for converting. And so I started really listening on my calls to what clients were saying to me. And 9 out of 10 of them were saying the word overwhelm, overwhelmed, or overwhelming. So taking that 24-page guide, essentially, that I now sell as a digital product to my clients, I turned it into 5 easy steps to a Disney vacation
Right.
without overwhelm,
Right.
using their words back at them, and
Right.
that was really what changed my business was that
Wow.
funnel. And that funnel I had going to a digital product, so that was paying for my paid advertising. This was all in 2020, so there wasn't a whole lot of other marketing opportunities,
Yeah.
to build a book of business than to do virtual, marketing, digital marketing. So yeah, I built my business from this guide really. And then I was like, okay, great. Now I have them in for their Disney trip. Now I want to follow up and get them to think about something new and different. And so then the next the next funnel came out, and the whole marketing strategy was people know they need someone to help with their Disney trip. Let me get them in that way, and then let me convert them to someplace else.
That is so smart. And it's thinking 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also it requires that suppressing your need for instant gratification, right? So you've got to be thinking much more strategically about the book of business. There are some people who are just like, I'll take any and all business that comes to me, and in the short run, that seems to be the right thing to do, but in the long run, it's not. So talk to me a little bit about. I mean, I love this what you just said. Um, how long did it take you to get this clear, and how long does it take to really see results?
Well, I think in terms of seeing results in building something that can support you, it worked pretty quickly. Like I could probably have supported myself within a year. Well, look, discounting a global pandemic and people couldn't travel. I started Showcase the World in 2019, so in November
Right.
2019. So I had a small book of business that came over with me from my first agency, but they weren't
Yeah.
my ideal client. And so it really was building it new again. And so it's hard to kind of give a number because I don't know what it would have looked
Yeah.
like if
It's
um,
normal.
people were traveling and comfortable traveling, even though, Florida didn't really make any changes. But my clientele's mostly in the Northeast and weren't comfortable traveling. So I would say once we started coming out of that, it was about a year and a half into my business, and I really was able to. I could have supported myself. I again am looking long game and looking to building something scalable and sustainable. So a lot of that went back into building team and building systems and things like that. So where I reached the point of profitability was probably closer to the average of 3 to 4 years in business. But again, that first year has that asterisk on it.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you have this long-term strategy in mind. And it's what we teach in our travel MBA program that, there's the 4 phases, and everyone wants to know how long does it take to get to phase 4, which is becoming a 7-figure travel entrepreneur. And it it completely depends. And that shouldn't be the question you're asking. The question should be, what do I need to do to get there? And yes, you want to know how much to budget, because you're not going to make money. You're possibly going to lose money, most likely going to lose money in phase one. Phase two, you might break even. If you're lucky, you make a little bit of money, but most likely you're going to break even. And like you did, even when you're in phase two, you should be reinvesting whatever you're making back into the business. And so I say it all the time. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very realistic time frame.
Well, and I think the question is why do you want to be a 7-figure entrepreneur, right? That might not be the path that
100%
is for you. And yes, sometimes it gets that shiny object and you see other people doing that and you're like, I want that. And then you realize that maybe you can't support the life that you want, or there's other things that come into it that I think that instead of saying how long does it take, it needs to be where do you want to be and how do you get there?
What is your ultimate outcome? What is the ultimate destination you're trying to get to? That's the question I ask all the time when I am interviewing travel MBA candidates or even experienced advisors. So the marketing, it just seems to come really natural to you. Would you agree that it's just very natural for you, or is there a lot of work behind the scenes that we don't know that we don't see it?
I think there's a combination. I think that a love of learning has really contributed to that. So I have definitely soaked up wherever I can. You mentioned at the beginning that you've taught something, and I'm like, okay, great. That's what they're teaching in the travel industry. What are they teaching in digital marketing? What are they teaching in real estate? And kind of trying to mold that to fit me. And then, yes, some of it does come naturally because now I'm like thinking about I have some contractors and I think about helping them with their lead magnets, and they're like talking about who they want to talk to. And then my head is just, oh, here's a good lead magnet idea. Here's a good lead magnet idea. So I think it's a combination of both.
You can't turn it off, right? No. That's always a sign that that's your brilliance, when it's like, you just can't turn it off. All right. So actually, you alluded to your team. So let's talk about that, because I know when you started, you were a solopreneur. Yeah. Help us understand, what does that look like these days?
So I have a couple contractors under 2 different brands, so it gets a little bit confusing, but I now have 4 contractors. I listened a lot on my first Book More Travel workshop. Is actually probably it was February 2020.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. And I had been listening to coaches talk about mindset and talk about business plans from all sorts of different industries. And I was like, no one's doing this in the travel space. I saw a Facebook ad, went to Book More Travel Workshop, and I was like, oh, yes, they are. And I need to be here. And in that Book More Travel Workshop, there was a panel on kind of the queen bee model of scaling. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, yeah, okay, maybe. But it was when I really started helping my colleagues and mentoring other advisors that I realized that I loved to do that. And the first agency I was with, that wasn't their brilliance. They wanted to have ICs because it's what everyone else did in the space. And that's how they thought they were going to build their business. They didn't have that passion for business operations or mentoring. And so that kind of made me a little wary about that model. But once I realized how much I loved it, and, thankfully, at one point in my life, I was put into sales enablement for whatever reason. So I have those skills of also teaching and putting together a training program that has, they're really my 4 ICs have become my people and my support system, and my friends. I love traveling with them, and because I'm making sure that they're aligned with my core values before they're ever offered anything.
So they don't have to worry about the branding side when they become what we call a GTN, a booking member with you. They just step into your brand and you provide sales training.
Yeah, and definitely a little bit more beyond. When I started, I was just given, here's how you make a booking and not how you build a business. And so coming into my brand under GTN, you have the GTN resources and all of that, and on top of all of the resources that we've created in terms of getting started, creating that first funnel, deciding what your marketing strategy is, your marketing channel is, and then you have that additional support of the rest of the rest of the whole community, and the GTN support in terms of the learning, which is really a huge benefit.
So for someone who's already become a travel advisor and is listening to this and wants to build a team, I always get the question, how do I find independent contractors? And what is your answer to that question?
I found my first two through Facebook ads.
Wow.
I'm so lucky that I did, because since trying that strategy again, I have not been so fortunate. I have stopped marketing for new contractors and really just started putting myself out into places and then having kind of more natural conversations.
Yeah, right. You shifted from trying to get to being of service and giving and waiting for the people who are the right fit to kind of just show up.
Yes.
And what's your vision for your team? Are you happy with the 4? Do you want it to grow? I know you love the mentoring side, which I love that you love that, because when we coach the Queen Bee model, we say you have to be the right person and have to be doing it for the right reason. And that's the reason to do it, is because you love the mentoring and the training side.
When I first started kind of really sitting down to see where I was going and what I was doing, it was definitely, I wanted to have a team, but not so big of a team I couldn't keep selling, because I love that too. I love working with my clients. But, the past couple of months, I've seen myself really procrastinating, working on proposals. And I'm like, oh, maybe I don't love that anymore. So I think it's time for me to reassess my vision, but I'd like to get to 10, where I can take on less of a client load, but still keep, a few of my key big clients that light me up, and grow my business that way.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. I have so many different directions I want to go. See, you're so multidimensional. So I'm going to choose the operational side now. So managing the operations, that's another piece of this that I feel like you've just nailed it. So much so that and you're so entrepreneurial that you have a whole nother business that you've made out of it. So talk to us about, how did you figure that out? How did you, and what is it that, like, how do you see the natural flow in terms of managing it so that you don't end up like Lucy and Ethel?
Yeah. Well, as soon as you were telling that story, I was like, oh, I just asked a question to my advisors earlier this week. If you got 10 clients today, how would your process handle it? And
That's true.
That's another thing I have to thank that tech experience, because I just had I call them a dream trip chat, which looks really good when in writing, but it's really hard to say, with one of my old software engineers. And I was telling him about the business I had started and that I was helping advisors with their processes and their tech. And I was like, yes, I'm helping people with tech. Don't, I hope you're sitting down. Because to them, I was the little girl in marketing who had to like learn how to unplug her computer and plug it back in. That was always, did you turn it off and now turn it back on again? So I'm so grateful to that. And I learned so much with them about email automation, because we had a software that plugged into it. And so we were meeting with some of the top email automation systems on a regular basis. And when I got into the travel space, I was like, wait, no one's automating their emails? This is insane.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a big fear of losing the personalization with the automation. And to me, I look at it as I'm automating the things that I do on repeat so that I have more time to do personal reach outs and to
Right.
think about my clients in a more thoughtful way,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And so it all became about how do you build a system that puts your personality into
Mhm.
it, that recognizes your ideal client. I think that's a big point that people miss, is that they're just sending out generic emails. And yeah, that's going to lose personalization. But if you know who your client is and you know what their problems are, you can create a system that repeats that for the same type of client. If you have a honeymooner and an empty nester and a mom at the same time, it's going to be hard to do that. But if you have that lane that you're sticking into, whether or not they kind of fall in those different profiles, if it's a destination or something that's a little bit more specific, you can write those emails that are super, super honed in so that they don't feel generic and automated.
So we're talking about emails at all points of the sales process.
Yes.
So walk us through that.
I think that's a huge blind spot that you just illuminated. A lot of people are sending emails from the time they book their trip to the time that they leave. And
Right.
there's so much missed opportunity. Yes, a weekly newsletter is great
Yep.
if you have a warm audience, but if you're building a funnel, your weekly newsletter is more about you and they
Yep.
don't care about you yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love nurture sequences where you have this content that is just going down the funnel. Like, what's the first question they have? Then what's the next one? Then what's the next one? And how do you make them see that you're the person to guide them? Right. I love Story Brand by Donald Miller. You are your client's guide. You're not the hero. So how do you position yourself as such? Then you have your proposal process. That's a question I see all the time, is how many times do you follow up after a proposal? Well, until they tell you to stop. It doesn't have
Pleasantly persistent.
yeah, it doesn't have to be pushy, but I have
No.
an automation I put them in that's like, hey, it's been a month since our call. I haven't heard from you. What's going on? Okay, it's been a year. Like, didn't happen this year. I know that travel can get lost in the like I deal with busy moms. I know
Yeah.
my email says I know that it can get lost in the soccer practices and the birthday parties, right? So I'm talking to that person. Do you think maybe this is the year? And obviously there's more touch points along the way, but it's following up after that proposal until they tell you to stop, till they book or tell you to stop, really. And then I love once they come back, right? So many travel advisors, I tell this all the time when I'm speaking, travel advisors send one email. Welcome home. How was your trip? Can you give me your feedback? Who do you know who, and will you leave me a review? And where do you want to go next? 6 different things, one email. And I know when I come back from a trip, I have an empty fridge, a full suitcase, and a full inbox.
Dirty clothes.
Yeah, I don't want to answer that. And so taking that one email and spreading it over 3 to 6 months, this is about knowing your client and what their repeat
Yeah.
process is, to give them value too. So asking those questions, but also saying, hey, what did you do with your pictures? Here are my favorite photo book companies. Or I know you loved this about your trip. Here's a recipe that you might want to do with your kids so that you can talk about your trip again. So you're taking that break from the busy and really continuing that relationship and adding value without adding more to your plate.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. You are so brilliant at this. And obviously, other people think so too. So if you want to, how would people get in touch with you or learn more about the product that you do sell to travel advisors to help them with their sequences?
So we have our website is magicmadesimple.net. We also have a Facebook group where we talk a little bit more about our products, because there's a lot of them. We have over 200 SKUs of products.
Wow.
So it can be really confusing as to where to start, but it's that way because it's so focused on voice. And we can't just say, here's a cruise one. It's
Right.
very focused on the type of clients. And so we have a Facebook group, Streamlining Your Travel Business. We do monthly Q&As in there so we can help you pick the right one to get started with.
Awesome. That's amazing. And I know it's been a game changer for a lot of people. So I love that. Just shows how entrepreneurial you are. You just you have an idea and you run with it. And it's so rare to see people follow through on that. And so that is really, really fun to watch from my perspective.
That's because you don't see all the other things in the background. Like when I wished that there was a yoga studio in downtown where I am, because I can walk downtown. So I started looking at commercial lease spaces, and I texted my husband and I was like, on today's episode of Entrepreneur with ADHD, and he was like, put the phone down.
I love it. All right. So this is a very practical question. I know that with the kind of mind that you have, I'm sure you've leaned into AI. Tell me how you approach AI and how are you using it to make you better and streamline your processes.
So for me, I was really resistant to it at first. And I co-own Magic Made Simple with Penny Cooper, and she was a very early adopter. And she kept saying to me, like, get into AI, get into AI. I was like, no, I'm a writer. Like, this doesn't sound like me. This is like, I don't like this at all. And then I saw like on an Instagram ad, so brilliant marketer, it was like, train AI to sound like you. And it was like a $57 course. And that's what I do is I buy $57 courses. And so I was like, all right, I'll see what this is about. And that changed the game for me. And it was really, really high level and super basic. And then I went deeper and deeper from there. It's about knowing your brand story and your brand voice so you can teach AI. If you don't know what it is, you can't teach it. And so I think that's kind of where we're shifting. Like, yes, our email templates are still going to work within AI, but we're really starting to lean into how do we help you find your brand voice? And then how do we help you teach AI? And then how do you use the products that we have to just make it even easier to turn it into your message?
Absolutely. I love that. It's very, very clever. And it's an interesting, more sophisticated approach to AI, I think. Everyone's looking for the shortcut. Everyone's looking for the silver bullet. And that is not what AI is. I haven't gotten that deep as you have. I would love to actually learn more from you about it, but I did use AI in helping to write the book. And the same as you, I was like so averse to it. I'm like, no, I don't want to use AI to write a book. And the first approach that I was using a consultant, the first approach we used, I hated it. And so I literally like crumpled it into a ball, threw it out the window, and we started over. And I reverse engineered it. I just reversed the process where I started and I would write stuff and then I would feed it to AI and say, make the sound better or more concise, or, just fix the grammar mistakes. And that sped up the process so much that it was really, that probably was one of my biggest stuck points, was feeling like, okay, I can write this, but I don't really love it. Like it could just be a little bit better, but not knowing how to edit my own work.
Yeah. Or this is the word that means what I'm trying to say, but this isn't the word I want to use. What is the word that I actually want to use?
What is the word I want to use? Yes. Exactly. 100%. Yeah. Okay. So let's take the conversation in a slightly different direction. You are an entrepreneur. You have several businesses. I don't even know if you've lost count by now.
Not yet. If I keep adding the ones I wanted to, I would, but I have to make these ones profitable first, and then I can go into the next one.
You are a wife and you're a mom.
Yep.
How do you balance it all?
I wish you had asked me that in April and May were, and I felt really good about it. But also you were one of the people who reminded me that there are seasons,
Yeah.
and this season I felt like a little bit like I'm dropping more balls, I'm letting more people down.
Mhm.
Um, but I also know it's literally a season. It's summer. And I
Yeah.
wanted to be really meaningful about my time with my
Mhm.
daughter's now 6.
Yeah.
With her
She's about
being
to start first grade,
about
right?
to start 1st
Oh
grade.
my
Yep.
gosh.
Yep. So I used to do some coaching, group coaching with Meredith back in the very beginning. And this arm is about to fall off from Annabelle climbing up and over and sitting on my lap when she was a toddler. Um, but I wanted to be really meaningful about that time off, especially because, Meredith has been a part of my IVF journey, and she's not an only child by choice. And so for me, it's so important to not let my business run my life.
Yeah.
And with her being out of school and being 6 and actually enjoying spending time with me, I wanted to make sure I wasn't working all the time. And so she's been in camp every other week, and then we've gone on adventures on those off weeks.
Oh my gosh, how
Um,
fun.
it's been so fun. We've been having so much fun this summer, but there's still stuff that needs to get done. And what I'm was struggling with is where in the school year I was so good about Tuesdays are my day for me, and I go to get a massage or I go to lunch with a friend, and that's where my best ideas come from. So it actually still is a work day. Wednesdays, I don't take calls and I only work on things. Coming into the every other week, I wasn't as protective of that.
Mhm.
And so all the time I was working became filled with calls. And I just wasn't able to get as much momentum on the things I wanted to do as I normally do. And so now I know going into next summer that I need to prepare for that a little bit better. But it really is just being protective of no, do not schedule anything on Tuesdays. That is my me day. And you might not think I'm working, but believe me, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm watching courses, I'm, going to energy clearing. And then Wednesdays, no calls either, because that's my day to actually get work done. And I only work 20 hours a week
Wow.
across those 3 businesses. So it takes a lot of confidence in you can set a boundary, right?
Mhm.
But you're the one who has to make it stick.
Make it stick, but also hire well, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got the team now to support you. You've got and you have it takes a tremendous amount of trust
Mhm.
too, not just the boundaries. I agree. The boundaries are so important that you actually keep them, but also trust in others that, you know what? It doesn't always have to be me to get this done.
And sometimes it doesn't get done the right way, right?
Mhm.
And it doesn't get done,
Yeah,
and you don't know about it until after the fact because you trust someone
yeah,
else to do it. And it's just that reminder of, okay, well, it didn't get done. This is travel. It wasn't
yeah,
the important thing. Someone's flight was booked. Like it,
yeah,
the blog post going up every day at
yeah,
the
right,
same time. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
right.
And knowing that the things that are important are the life that you're building, right? Your life comes first, your
Mhm.
personal life comes first, and then your CEO level activities, right? You need to be on those sales calls. You need to ensure that your trips are good to go. You don't need to make sure you're posting on social media. Actually, you shouldn't post on social media every day unless you have a strategy, but that's a whole other podcast episode. Like just posting and hoping is not the best use of your
Mhm.
time, and knowing
I love
that
that. I
the
say spray and pray marketing. I've never heard of posting and hoping. I love
yeah,
that.
um, knowing the things that really matter in your business and keep your business moving and making sure those things are done by you, nothing
Mhm.
else really, and being okay if the other things don't
Yeah,
happen.
for sure. Um, so if there's I believe that there's probably a sentiment of I would never focus on Disney because they never turn into anything else. What has been your experience? And I'm guessing that's not the experience that you have. And how do you start the conversation of, what, you know, now that you've done Disney, where else do you want to go?
Well, a lot of that happens throughout the process. I'll talk about while they're talking about something, I'll be like, "Oh my goodness, you just said this, and I think that this place would be good for us to examine in the future." I just did a call for a Disney Alaska cruise, and she was talking about her Marriott points, and I said, "Oh my goodness, there's this Marriott property in Ireland that I love." And yes, I know I probably am not going to get commission when she books that property, but all of her tours and things to get her over there to show what I can do.
Yeah.
Starting those conversations early, and then we talked about that follow-up sequence. That's where I start talking about, here are all these other amazing places. But I also want to say that as much as I love building these incredible European FIT trips, I love working with my destination partners, my Disney trips are more profitable
Okay.
because the process requires less of me.
Wow.
It's so repeatable because it's the same destination, and yes, there's some personalization to it, but I can service a Disney client, and I track my time in less than 3 of my hours. It takes
Wow.
1 of my virtual assistants and 3 of mine. I charge a $500 planning fee, so that's, $100 an hour without the commission on top of it.
Wow. I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a lot of burnt out travel advisors who really struggle with how do you make Disney profitable, but you figured it out.
Yeah. Processes and knowing your worth, right? I
Yeah.
think that's the
Yeah.
other big blind spot in that space, is that there are so many people who are not valuing their time enough and think that they're going to lose business by not charging, that they're not getting what they're worth.
Did you struggle with that, charging a fee specifically in the Disney space? Because there's so many that don't, and that's the biggest objection I get when I tell people well, I have all these competitors that don't charge a fee. How do I compete with the advisors who are not charging a fee? And did you start with 500?
I did not start with 500. I started with 2 packages, and I still have those same 2 packages to this day. I started where one was free and one was an additional cost, and that additional cost was me booking your dining, me booking your, maybe it was FastPass at the time, who knows what it was,
Yeah.
and creating a personalized touring plan. Then that started increasing, and it became 100 and 200, and then it became, so now it's where I feel like it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
I know people who increase their fees every year. I feel like this still leaves it accessible for upper mid-market clients,
Yeah.
and I'm, as long as it's only taking me 4 man hours, it's profitable to have it at 250 and 500.
Okay, so the first one is not free anymore.
Right.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Oh,
No.
that's really, really cool. So the first one is no assistance beyond the booking.
Yeah, you're in my email automation process. You have
Mhm.
access to my client portal, and you can email me any questions that you have with, this is the turnaround time.
Right.
Once you upgrade, you have phone calls, you have a shorter email turnaround time, plus you have all of that personal things along the way. And
So
there's some surprise and delights in that upper one too that
Ah.
they don't know about. That's built
that
into the cost of my fee.
so then they all feel like it was absolutely worth every
Mhm.
penny, if not more.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's value. That's creating value. Price is what you pay, value is what you
Mhm.
get, right?
And if they say other people don't charge, I'm like, great. Well, here's some people I would recommend. Here's here's why they don't charge, right? They don't have a repeatable process, so you might not be getting consistent client. They don't have, you know,
Yeah.
X many years experience. And I also, when I have that upper level, I only take 1 client per check-in day. So that's kind of my selling point is, well, whose dining are they going to do?
Yeah.
Right? You're the only person I'm doing dining on their dining day, the only person I'm doing their lightning lanes on their lightning lane day. Well, my assistant is. And the only person I'm dealing with travel issues when you're traveling.
One of your downloadable guides is the one about the 18 summers,
Mhm.
the family vacation destinations to make the most of every age. So you basically have a guy that answers the question, where should we take our blank year old?
Yeah.
So do you have like a page for each age?
I
in that?
don't. I have 18. So like the first page
Okay,
is
sure.
1 to
Okay, so
4.
18 ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 to 4, 4 to 8.
Okay.
But it
Okay.
also, I try to answer the question of my kids aren't old enough to travel. I hate that one. I
Yes.
absolutely hate that one. Like, oh, well, we want to travel, but we want to wait till our kids get older. And I'm like,
Right.
why?
No, 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 no. Don't
It's
wait.
it's easier
It is
the earlier
easier.
you start.
Exactly. It absolutely is. So my question was going to be, where did you get the ideas for all of those 18 ideas?
Honestly, if I had not made that 5 or 6 years ago, probably from AI. But at the time, it was a lot of research. It was a lot of what I had kind of planned in my head to bring my like, when my kids are this age, when my kids are that
Yeah.
age. I mentioned me falling in love with Epcot, right? So for me and my daughter, our goal is to get to all 10. US is 11, so it's not technically 11. All 10 Epcot countries before she graduates from high school. So thinking about when I would place those, thinking about when I wanted her to bring her certain places, and that's kind of where it started. It definitely needs an update now that we've done some of them, and there's some places that I wish I had put earlier, I wish I had put later, but
Okay.
that was just highlighted on my CEO day yesterday when I went through.
Oh my goodness. You are incredible. We are way over time. So I want to finish with my favorite question that I ask. We are so lucky to be in the travel industry, and we get access to things and experiences that we never imagined possible. So why don't you share with us one of your favorite pinch me, oh my God, I can't believe I get to do this for a living moment?
Well, I came in with 2 ideas, but and I didn't share this story when you just asked that question about traveling with your kids early because I was like, "Okay, great. This is the one I'm gonna go with because it transitions perfectly." It was like I could talk about the places I've been or the exclusive experience I had on a
Yeah.
fan, but the real pinch me moment was when I was in Paris with my daughter,
Oh,
who has been traveling she was on a chartered yacht in Greece when she was 2 and a half. Probably would have been earlier, but COVID. So, she's
right.
6, and we were in Paris, and one of our rules is that she has to try something new every day. Whether it's a food or an experience, she has to try something new every day. And so we were at lunch, and I was like, "Oh, okay, here's some, cheese. You can try the cheese." And she looked at me, she goes, "Mom, can I try the snails?" And I went, "Yes, you can try the snails." And she tried the snails, and she had it every night for dinner after that,
Oh
and
my gosh.
it wasn't that exact moment, but it was that she's been traveling so long and so well that she's 6, and now she's like, "Great, I can do this." Like, she doesn't speak to me on flights anymore unless she has to go to the bathroom, so, like, an 8-hour flight, I'm just like, "Hey, every hour, are you okay?" And she's like, "Mom, leave me alone." Um, and I feel like that people think that traveling with kids is so hard
I
because
know.
they don't teach their kids how to do it, and that was the
Yeah.
moment that I was like, "What I'm doing matters. What
Yeah.
my brand stands for matters, and
Yeah.
man, I'm a good parent."
Yes.
Right?
Yes. 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 I love, love, love that story. I don't even know if I would try staying still.
Oh, well, she won't eat hot dogs, she won't eat grilled cheese, she won't eat anything that's cheap or easy for me to make at home, so we have salmon every night, but so I might have went too far in the wrong direction, but
No, that's one of the biggest pluses of
yeah,
traveling is your kids are not picky anymore. I mean, she's picky, but in the right way. Like
yeah.
she's like, ew, I don't want fake food.
Yep. Nope, she's like, "Give me a good lean meat and give me a vegetable," and I'm like, "You don't want a carb? You don't want a starch?" Like, all those dreams of me eating that leftover cold mac and cheese over the sink.
Oh my
She's
God.
with her grandparents this week, so I made myself Kraft mac and cheese yesterday.
You cheated.
Yeah.
You cheated on her. Well, this has been a delightful conversation. I do think that it's helped a lot of people. I'm pretty sure it's illuminated things for a lot of people. Maybe got the creative juices flowing for people. Thank you so much. If people want to learn more about any one of your businesses, how do they get a hold of you?
Christina at showcasetheworld.com. My assistant will let you know which, depending on what you're looking for help with, which is the best way to go from there.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest today, Christina. And
Thank you.
we'll see you all on the next episode.